Jiwoo Park sat in the back row of the combat classroom, her small frame barely visible behind the massive bodies of her classmates. The Academy's amphitheater-style room was designed for warriors from across the galaxy, which meant the seats were too large for her. Her feet didn't quite touch the floor. Around her, cadets from dozens of different species whispered and laughed. Most of them were twice her size. Some were 3 times bigger. The Krillians had 4 arms and bodies covered in natural armor. The Thoraxians looked like walking tanks made of muscle and bone. The Vraxians were tall reptilian warriors with sharp claws and teeth that could tear through steel. And then there was Jiwoo. Human, small, quiet. At the front of the room, Instructor Velthar demonstrated a striking technique. He was a Krillian, standing over 8 feet tall. His forearms moved in patterns that seemed impossible to follow. His exoskeleton gleamed under the lights as he struck a training dummy with enough force to crack it in half. "This is the basic Krillian combat form," Velthar announced, his voice echoing through the chamber. "It has been used for 3,000 years. It has never failed in battle." The other cadets leaned forward, eager to learn. Jiwoo remained still, her dark eyes watching every movement. She didn't take notes like some of the others. She didn't need to. Everything Velthar did was being recorded in her mind, filed away with hundreds of other techniques she had observed over the past 3 months. A Thoraxian cadet named Graltok turned around in his seat and looked down at Jiwoo. He nudged his friend and they both laughed. Jiwoo didn't react. She kept her eyes on the instructor. "Why is the human even here?" Graltok said, loud enough for others to hear. "She never speaks. She never fights. She just sits there like a scared little mouse." More laughter rippled through the nearby seats. Jiwoo's expression didn't change. Her hands remained folded in her lap. Her breathing stayed steady and calm. This wasn't the first time. It wouldn't be the last. Instructor Velthar stopped his demonstration and looked up at the seats. His 4 eyes scanned the room until they found the source of the disturbance. "Cadet Graltok, do you have something to share with the class?" Graltok straightened up, suddenly uncomfortable with the attention. "No, instructor." "Then perhaps you would like to demonstrate the technique I just showed?" "Yes, instructor." Graltok stood up and made his way down to the training floor. He was confident, his massive body moving with surprising grace. He approached the training dummy and executed a decent version of Velthar's technique. The dummy rocked backward but didn't break. "Adequate," Velthar said. "Return to your seat." As Graltok walked back up the stairs, he passed close to Jiwoo. He leaned in and whispered, "At least I can fight, Mouse." Jiwoo didn't respond. She simply watched him return to his seat, her eyes noting the slight favor he showed to his left side when he walked. An old injury, perhaps, or just a natural weakness. She filed the information away. The class continued for another hour. Velthar demonstrated more techniques from various species. Each one was deadly in its own way. Each one was designed to kill or disable opponents quickly and efficiently. Jiwoo watched everything. She saw how the Vraxian strikes aimed for nerve clusters. She noticed how the Gorvian techniques used mass and momentum instead of speed. She observed the way the Silthrene fighters moved like water, flowing around attacks instead of blocking them. She said nothing. She asked no questions. She simply absorbed it all. When the class finally ended, the other cadets filed out in groups, talking and laughing with their friends. Jiwoo waited until most of them had left before she stood up. She preferred to avoid the crowds in the hallways. Cadet Park. Jiwoo turned to find Instructor Velthar looking at her from the training floor. His 4 eyes studied her with an expression she couldn't quite read. "Yes, instructor? You have been in my class for 47 days. You have never volunteered to demonstrate. You have never asked a question, why?" Jiwoo considered her answer carefully. "I am learning, instructor. Learning requires participation. I participate by observing." Velthar's mandibles clicked together, a sign of either amusement or irritation. With Krillians, it was hard to tell. Observation is not enough in combat. You must practice. You must test yourself. "Yes, instructor. The midterm evaluation is in 3 days. You will be required to fight another cadet in single combat. There is no avoiding it." "I understand, instructor." Velthar studied her for a moment longer, then dismissed her with a wave of one of his 4 hands. Jiwoo bowed slightly and left the classroom. The hallways of the Galactic Military Academy were enormous, designed to accommodate beings of all sizes. Jiwoo walked along the edge where she was less likely to be bumped or stepped on by larger cadets. The walls were made of some kind of alien metal that seemed to glow with its own internal light. Holographic displays showed information about classes, training schedules, and academy news. Jiwoo, wait up! She turned to see Taesung Kim jogging toward her. He was human like her, tall and athletic, with an easy smile that seemed out of place in the military academy. He was one of only 7 humans in the entire academy of 3,000 cadets. Hey, he said when he caught up to her. I saw the matchups for the evaluation. They posted them while you were in class. Jiwoo felt something tighten in her chest, but she kept her expression neutral. Who am I fighting? Taesung's smile faded. He looked uncomfortable. Krathnar. The name hung in the air between them. Krathnar was a Vraxian, one of the elite warrior species that had dominated galactic combat for centuries. He was 7 feet tall, covered in scales that could deflect most blades and armed with claws that could tear through armor. More importantly, he was ranked first in their entire class. He had fought 32 matches since arriving at the academy. He had won all 32. His last opponent had spent a week in the medical bay. I see, Jiwoo said quietly. That's all you have to say? Taesung looked at her with concern. Jiwoo, this is serious. Krathnar is dangerous. Some people are saying this is a death match. They think the instructors are trying to make an example of you. An example of what? Of what happens when humans try to compete with real warriors. Taesung's voice was bitter. The other species still don't think we belong here. They think Earth only got into the Galactic Alliance because of politics, not because we earned it. Jiwoo started walking again. Taesung fell into step beside her. You could withdraw, he said. Medical reasons. Nobody would blame you. I'm not withdrawing. Then at least train with me. We can practice together. Maybe I can help you prepare. Jiwoo stopped and looked at him. Taesung was kind. He was her only real friend at the academy. But he didn't understand. None of them did. Thank you, Taesung. But I'll be fine. You'll be fine? Jiwoo, this is Krathnar. He's a killing machine. I know what he is. Then you know you can't beat him. Jiwoo was quiet for a moment. Then she said something that surprised both of them. Every machine has a design flaw. She walked away before Taesung could respond, leaving him standing alone in the hallway with a confused expression on his face. That night, Jiwoo lay in her small bunk in the human dormitory. The room was dark except for the soft glow of her datapad. She scrolled through files on Vraxian physiology, skeletal structure, muscular system, nervous system. She had read these files dozens of times before, but she read them again now, looking for anything she might have missed. Vraxians were formidable. Their scales provided natural armor. Their strength was 3 times that of a human. Their reflexes were faster. Their claws were deadly weapons, but they had weaknesses. Every species did. The Vraxian knee joint had a small cluster of nerves that controlled the entire leg. Hit it correctly and the leg would collapse. The chest had a spot where the heart beat close to the surface, protected only by a thin membrane between 2 scale plates. Strike it correctly and the cardiac nerves would fire, paralyzing the warrior temporarily. These were things most people didn't know. These were things that didn't appear in standard anatomy texts, but Jiwoo knew them. She had learned them years ago in another life on a colony that no longer existed. She closed her eyes and remembered. The attack on New Seoul, the raiders dropping from the sky, the screams, the fire, the bodies. Her parents had been engineers, but when the raiders came, engineering wasn't enough. So they had engineered something else, a way to survive, a way to fight back against species that were bigger, stronger, faster. They had studied alien biology like it was a weapon, and they had taught their children to do the same. Jiwoo had been 12 years old when she learned how to kill a Vraxian with her bare hands. Now she was 19, and she was going to use that knowledge for the first time since the colony fell. She opened her eyes and looked at the ceiling of her bunk. 3 days until the evaluation. 3 days until everyone learned that silence could be the deadliest weapon of all. The day of the evaluation arrived. The main combat arena was packed with cadets. Every seat in the massive amphitheater was filled. Some species stood in the back because they were too large for the seats. Others floated in special sections designed for beings that didn't have legs. Everyone had come to watch the fight, not because they expected it to be good, but because they expected it to be quick and brutal. Jiwoo stood in the preparation room beneath the arena floor. She could hear the crowd above her, their voices creating a sound like distant thunder. She wore standard training gear, a simple black uniform designed for movement. No armor, no weapons, just her body and her mind. The door opened and Hana Choi walked in. She was the human medical officer assigned to the academy, a woman in her 30s with kind eyes and steady hands. She carried a medical scanner. "I need to do a final check before you go up," Hana said. She ran the scanner over Jiwoo's body, checking her vital signs. "Your heart rate is normal. Blood pressure, normal. You're not showing any signs of stress." "I'm not stressed." Hana lowered the scanner and looked at Jiwoo directly. "Everyone else thinks you're going to get hurt out there badly. Are you sure you want to do this?" "Yes. Why?" "You could withdraw." "There's no shame in it." "There would be shame. For all humans. They already think we're weak. If I withdraw, it proves them right. And if you fight and lose, then at least I tried." Hana studied her for a moment. "You're not like the other cadets. There's something different about you. The way you move. The way you watch people. I noticed it during your physical examination when you first arrived. Your reflexes are faster than normal. Your muscle density is higher than it should be for your size. What kind of training did you have before you came here? The kind that keeps you alive?" "That's not an answer. It's the only answer I can give." Hana sighed. "Fine, but promise me something. If it gets too dangerous, if you think he's going to kill you, tap out. Your pride isn't worth your life. I understand. Do you? Because I've seen what Krathnar can do. He sent his last opponent to my medical bay with broken bones and internal bleeding. And that was during a practice match. I know what he can do. I've studied him. Studying isn't the same as fighting." Jiwoo looked at Hana and said something that made the medical officer go silent. "I know." There was something in those two words, some darkness behind them. That made Hana realize Jiwoo wasn't talking about academy training. She was talking about something else. Something real. Something that had left scars that no scanner could detect. The announcement system crackled to life. "Cadet Park, report to the arena floor." Jiwoo stood up and walked to the door. Hana watched her go, a worried expression on her face. The arena floor was a perfect circle, 50 meters across, made of reinforced material that could withstand incredible force. Energy barriers surrounded the combat area, protecting the spectators from any attacks that might go wide. Lights blazed down from above, making everything bright and clear. Jiwoo walked to the center of the circle. The crowd noise grew louder. She could hear laughter, jeering. Some cadets were making bets even now in the final seconds before the fight began. On the opposite side of the arena, another door opened. Krathnar emerged. He was massive, 7 feet tall, his body covered in dark green scales that looked like armor. His arms were thick with muscle, ending in hands tipped with claws that gleamed under the lights. His eyes were yellow and reptilian, with vertical pupils that locked onto Jiwoo the moment he entered. He walked to the center of the arena with complete confidence. Why wouldn't he be confident? He had never lost. He was bigger, stronger, faster. He was a Vraxian warrior, bred for combat across thousands of generations, and Jiwoo was just a small human girl who never spoke. Instructor Velthar stood at the edge of the combat circle, his forearms crossed over his chest. 3 other instructors stood nearby, ready to intervene if the fight became too dangerous. "This is a standard evaluation combat," Velthar announced, his voice amplified so the entire arena could hear. "The fight continues until one combatant submits, is incapacitated, or is judged unable to continue by the supervising instructors. Lethal force is prohibited. Deliberately attempting to kill your opponent will result in immediate expulsion from the academy. Do both combatants understand?" "Yes, instructor," Krathnar said. His voice was deep and rough like rocks grinding together. "Yes, instructor," Jiwoo said quietly. "Then take your positions." Krathnar moved to one side of the circle. He dropped into a combat stance, his claws extended, his body coiled and ready to strike. He performed the traditional Vraxian war gesture, a complex movement of his arms and head that was meant to intimidate opponents. The crowd roared with approval. Jiwoo simply stood in the center of the circle. Her hands hung loose at her sides. Her feet were shoulder-width apart. Her breathing was slow and steady. She didn't take any stance. She didn't make any gestures. She just stood there looking at Krathnar with calm, dark eyes. "Begin," Velthar commanded. For a moment, neither fighter moved. Krathnar circled to the right, his yellow eyes studying Jiwoo. He was in no hurry. He had all the time in the world. This would be over in seconds. He feinted left, then lunged right. It was a standard Vraxian opening move, designed to test an opponent's reflexes. His claws slashed through the air where Jiwoo's throat had been, but she wasn't there. She had moved, just 3 inches to the left. Just enough. Krathnar's claws passed through empty air. The crowd went silent. Krathnar pulled back and circled again. His eyes narrowed. He had expected her to block or dodge wildly, but she had done neither. She had simply not been there. He attacked again, faster this time, a combination of strikes that had won him dozens of fights. Left claw high, right claw low, tail sweep. Each attack flowed into the next with deadly precision. Jiwoo avoided them all. She didn't block. She didn't jump away. She moved with minimal effort, her body shifting just enough to let the attacks pass by. It was like watching water flow around rocks. The crowd's silence turned into confused murmuring. Krathnar stopped circling. His confidence was beginning to crack. This wasn't how the fight was supposed to go. The human should be defending desperately. She should be backing away. She should be afraid, but she wasn't doing any of those things. She was just standing there calm and patient, waiting. "Fight me," Krathnar roared. He abandoned his technique and attacked with raw power, his massive body launching forward like a missile. Jiwoo took a step backward, just one step. Krathnar's momentum carried him past her. She didn't attack. She just let him pass. Now Krathnar was angry. This small human was making him look foolish in front of the entire academy. He charged again, putting all his strength into a devastating strike that would have torn through armor. It connected. The crowd gasped as Krathnar's claws raked across Jiwoo's shoulder. She rolled with the impact, turning what should have been a killing blow into a glancing hit. Blood appeared on her uniform, but she didn't cry out. She didn't stumble. She created distance and reset her stance. For the first time, her expression changed. Not pain, not fear. Something else, assessment. She had let him hit her. On purpose. To see how much power he really had. To confirm what she already knew. Krathnar saw the blood and smiled. Finally, a result. He moved in for the finish, confident now that he had wounded her. That was his mistake. Jiwoo stopped retreating. As Krathnar charged forward for what he thought would be the final attack, she moved toward him instead of away. What happened next took exactly 2.3 seconds. Jiwoo stepped inside Krathnar's guard, closer than any fighter should ever get to a Vraxian. She dropped low and struck his left knee with 2 fingers extended. Not a punch, a precise strike to a specific point on the joint where Vraxian nerves clustered together. Krathnar's leg collapsed. As his massive body began to fall, Jiwoo was already moving. She used his momentum against him, redirecting his weight with a movement that looked effortless but required perfect timing and understanding of physics. As Krathnar twisted in the air, trying to recover, Jiwoo struck again. Her palm hit his chest in a specific spot between 2 scale plates, the spot where the Vraxian heart beat close to the surface, the spot where the cardiac nerves ran. Krathnar crashed to the ground. He tried to stand up. His body wouldn't respond. His leg was numb. His chest felt like it was on fire. He was conscious, aware, but completely paralyzed. Jiwoo stood over him, her hand still raised, her breathing still calm and steady. A small amount of blood dripped from her shoulder wound, but she didn't seem to notice. The arena was absolutely silent. 3,000 cadets from hundreds of species sat in stunned disbelief. This wasn't possible. Humans were weak. Humans were small. Humans didn't defeat elite Vraxian warriors in single combat, and they certainly didn't do it in less than 3 seconds. Instructor Velthar stood frozen for a moment, all 4 of his eyes wide with shock. Then his training kicked in. He rushed onto the combat floor with the medical team right behind him. "Cadet Park, step back," he commanded. Jiwoo stepped back. She lowered her hand. Her expression was blank, neutral, as if nothing unusual had just happened. The medical team swarmed around Krathnar, scanning him with their instruments. Hana Choi was among them. She looked at Jiwoo with an expression of complete disbelief. The news spread through the academy like fire. By the next morning, everyone knew about the matchup. Jiwoo Park, the silent human girl who never spoke in class, would fight Krathnar, the undefeated Vraxian champion. In the cafeteria, cadets from every species gathered around holographic displays showing the betting odds. Krathnar was favored 500 to 1. Some cadets were betting their entire monthly credits on him. A few thought it was funny. Most thought it was sad. Jiwoo sat alone at a table in the corner eating her breakfast. She didn't look at the displays. She didn't need to. She could hear the whispers well enough. The human won't last 30 seconds. I heard she's never even been in a real fight. This is cruel. Someone should stop it. Why? Let her learn what real combat looks like. Jiwoo took another bite of her food. It was some kind of protein paste that was supposed to work for human digestion. It tasted like nothing, which was fine. She wasn't eating for pleasure. She was eating for fuel. A shadow fell across her table. She looked up to see 3 Thoraxian cadets standing over her. Greltok was in the middle, the same one who had called her a mouse in class. His friends flanked him on either side, their massive bodies blocking out the light. I wanted to apologize, Greltok said. His voice was different now, almost gentle. I shouldn't have made fun of you in class. It wasn't fair. Jiwoo set down her spoon and looked at him. She said nothing. The thing is, Greltok continued, I didn't know you were going to fight Krathnar. If I had known, I wouldn't have been so harsh. Nobody deserves that. Deserves what? Jiwoo asked quietly. To be humiliated in front of the entire academy, or worse. Greltok shifted his weight from one foot to the other. Look, I know humans are new to the Alliance. I know your people are still learning how things work out here. But you don't have to do this. You can withdraw. Say you're injured. Nobody will think less of you. People already think less of me, Jiwoo said. Well, yeah, but... Greltok seemed uncomfortable. That's different. That's just because you're small and quiet. But if you fight Krathnar and lose badly, it'll be worse. For you and for all the other humans here. Jiwoo picked up her spoon again. Thank you for your concern. I'm serious. Krathnar won't hold back just because you're small. He'll hurt you, maybe kill you. I know. Greltok stared at her for a moment, then shook his head. You're crazy. All you humans are crazy. He walked away with his friends, leaving Jiwoo alone again. She finished her breakfast in silence. Later that day, Jiwoo went to the observation deck. It was a quiet place. A large room with transparent walls that looked out into space. Earth was visible in the distance, a blue and green sphere that seemed impossibly small and far away. She stood at the window, her hands behind her back, and stared at her home world. She had left Earth 6 months ago. She wondered if she would ever see it again. Beautiful, isn't it? Jiwoo turned to find Taesung standing beside her. She hadn't heard him approach. That was unusual. She always heard people coming. It is, she agreed. Do you miss it? Sometimes, Taesung looked at her profile. Are you scared? About the fight? No. You should be. I watched Krathnar's last match. He broke a Gorvian's arm in 3 places. And Gorvians have bones like steel. I know. Then how can you not be scared? Jiwoo was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, Fear is useful when there's something you can do about the danger. When there's nothing you can do, fear just makes you weak. So you're saying there's nothing you can do about Krathnar? I'm saying fear won't help me beat him. Preparation will. Taesung studied her face. You know, I've known you for 3 months now and I still don't know anything about you. Where did you grow up? What did you do before the academy? Why are you really here? I grew up on New Seoul Colony. My parents were engineers. I came here to learn. That's what you always say. But it's not a real answer, is it? Taesung's voice was gentle but persistent. Nobody comes to the Galactic Military Academy just to learn. People come here because they want to be warriors. Or because they want glory. Or because their family expects it. But you're different. You don't act like any of the other cadets. It's like you're here for some other reason. Jiwoo turned away from the window and looked at him. What reason do you think I'm here for? I don't know. That's why I'm asking. Some questions don't have simple answers, Taesung. Try me. Jiwoo considered this. Taesung was her friend. He had been kind to her when others weren't. He deserved something. When I was 12, she said slowly, raiders attacked my colony. They came in the night. There were no military ships nearby. No one to help us. Just civilians and scientists and families. Taesung's expression changed. What happened? Everyone fought. With whatever they had. Tools, rocks, their bare hands. It wasn't enough. The raiders were professional killers. They had weapons and armor and training. We had nothing. How many people died? Almost everyone. Jiwoo's voice was flat, empty of emotion. The raiders left after they took what they wanted. By the time help arrived, there were only a few dozen survivors. I was one of them. I'm sorry, Taesung said quietly. I didn't know. Nobody knows. It's not in my file. Earth Command decided it would be better to keep the details classified. Too embarrassing to admit that a human colony was destroyed so easily. Is that why you came here?
For revenge?
No. I came here because I never want to feel helpless again.
I came here because I want to understand how to fight, how to survive, how to protect people who can't protect themselves. Taesung was silent for a moment. Then he asked, Did anyone teach you to fight after the attack? My parents did. Before they died, they realized that being smart wasn't enough. You had to know how to use that intelligence in combat, so they studied the aliens who attacked us. They learned their weaknesses, and they taught me everything they discovered. And then I practiced. Every day, for 7 years, until I was ready to come here. Taesung looked at her with new understanding. That's why you're always so quiet. You're studying everyone. You're learning their weaknesses. Yes. So when you fight Krathnar, I already know how to beat him. I've known for weeks. I've been watching him train. I've studied Vraxian anatomy. I know where to hit him. I know how to move. I know exactly what I need to do. Taesung let out a breath. Then why didn't you say something? Why let everyone think you're just a scared girl who can't fight? Because it's easier to win when nobody expects you to. Before Taesung could respond, Jiwoo's datapad chimed. She pulled it out and looked at the screen. Her expression didn't change, but something shifted in her eyes. What is it? Taesung asked. Nothing. Just a message. She put the pad away quickly. From who? I don't know. It was encrypted. It deleted itself after I read it. What did it say? Jiwoo hesitated. Then she said, It said Protocol 7 remains classified. Stay quiet. What does that mean? I don't know, but that was a lie. Jiwoo knew exactly what it meant. Protocol 7 was the code name her parents had used for their combat training program on New Seoul. It was supposed to be secret. It was supposed to be forgotten after the colony fell. Someone knew she had been trained. Someone was watching her. Someone wanted her to keep her abilities hidden. But in 2 days she would have to fight Krathnar in front of the entire academy. There would be no hiding after that. That night Jiwoo went to the training hall. It was late, long after most cadets had gone to their bunks. The hall was empty except for the rows of training dummies that stood like silent soldiers in the darkness. She walked to the section marked for Vraxian combat training. The dummies here were built to Vraxian specifications, 7 feet tall, covered in synthetic scales, armed with retractable claws. Jiwoo activated one of the dummies. It powered up with a soft hum, its eyes glowing red in the darkness. She set it to combat mode and stepped back. The dummy attacked. It was fast, faster than most organic beings. Its claws slashed through the air where Jiwoo had been standing a moment before. But she wasn't there anymore. She had moved just a few inches, just enough to avoid the strike. The dummy attacked again, and again. Each time, Jiwoo evaded by the smallest margin possible. She didn't block. She didn't counterattack. She simply moved, her body flowing like water around the dummy's strikes. After 5 minutes, she stopped the dummy and reset it. This time, when it attacked, she didn't evade. She stepped inside its guard, her movements precise and controlled. She struck the dummy's knee joint with 2 fingers, then its chest, then its throat. 3 strikes in less than 2 seconds. The dummy collapsed. Jiwoo stood over it, breathing steady and calm. She wasn't even sweating. She reset the dummy and did it again, and again, and again. By the time she left the training hall, it was almost morning. She had practiced the same sequence 50 times. 50 times the dummy had fallen in less than 3 seconds. 2 days until the evaluation. 2 days until she stopped being silent. 2 days until the entire galaxy learned what humans were really capable of. 2 months passed. The academy was different now. Everything had changed after the fight. The hallways felt different. The cafeteria felt different. Even the way cadets looked at each other had changed. And at the center of it all was Jiwoo Park. She no longer sat in the back of the classroom. She no longer stayed silent. When Instructor Velthar asked for demonstrations, she volunteered. When other cadets had questions about combat techniques, she answered. The quiet girl who had hidden in the shadows was gone. In her place was someone new, someone who had decided that knowledge was too valuable to keep hidden. 3 days after the fight with Krathnar, Jiwoo started a voluntary study group. She called it Comparative Biology in Combat. She expected maybe 5 or 6 cadets to show up. 30 arrived. For the first session, they came from 12 different species: Thoraxians, Krillians, Silthrines, Gorvians, even 3 Vraxians, including Krathnar himself. The meeting room was crowded. Cadets of all sizes tried to find seats or standing space. Jiwoo stood at the front, a holographic projector behind her. "Thank you for coming," she said. Her voice was still quiet, but now everyone listened. "I know most of you are here because you want to know how I beat Krathnar. You want to know the secret." She paused and looked around the room. "There is no secret. There's only knowledge, and I'm going to share it with all of you." She activated the projector. A 3-dimensional model of a Vraxian body appeared, rotating slowly. Every species has strengths. Vraxians are strong, fast, and have natural armor. In a straight fight, a human shouldn't be able to beat one. But every species also has weaknesses, places where nerves cluster, points where bones connect, spots where the armor is thin. She highlighted several points on the model. If you know where these points are, if you understand the biology of your opponent, size and strength become less important. Precision becomes everything. Krathnar spoke up from the back of the room. "You learned all this just by studying?" "My parents taught me. They studied every species that might threaten our colony. They turned biology into a weapon. And now I'm teaching you." A Gorvian cadet raised one of his massive hands. "But we're all different species. What works against a Vraxian won't work against a Thoraxian or a Krillian." "That's exactly right," Jiwoo said. "That's why we're going to study all of them. Every species represented at this academy. By the end of the year, everyone in this room will understand the biology of every other species here. You'll know how to defend yourself against any opponent regardless of their size or strength." "Why?" a Silthrine asked. "Why share this information? You could keep it secret and maintain your advantage." Jiwoo was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Because that's what my parents wanted. They didn't develop this knowledge to create super soldiers. They developed it to help people survive. And the best way to survive is to make sure everyone around you is also strong." The study group met 3 times a week. Word spread. More cadets started attending. By the end of the first month, 50 cadets were coming to each session. By the end of the second month, it was 70. Jiwoo taught them everything she knew. She showed a massive Gorvian cadet how to defeat a faster Silthrine opponent. By understanding joint mechanics and using superior mass correctly, she taught Thoraxian cadets how to protect their weak points while fighting species with natural weapons. She helped human cadets understand that they could compete with physically superior species through precision and knowledge. Instructor Velthar started attending the sessions too, though he stayed in the back and just observed. After the 4th session, he approached Jiwoo. "You have a gift for teaching," he said. "You explain complex biological concepts in ways that any species can understand." "I'm just sharing what I learned." "No, you're doing more than that. You're changing how these cadets think about combat. They're starting to understand that fighting isn't just about strength. It's about understanding your opponent. Isn't that what you teach in your classes?" "I teach technique. You teach the why behind the technique. There's a difference." Jiwoo's life had changed in other ways too. She no longer ate alone in the cafeteria. Taesung still sat with her, but now they were joined by others. Vexra, a Vraxian who had been Krathnar's friend. Dalshin, a Silthrine who moved like liquid and asked endless questions. Even Graltok, the Thoraxian who had called her a mouse, now sat at her table and listened to her talk about combat theory. "I was wrong about you," Graltok admitted one day. "I thought you were weak because you were small and quiet. I didn't understand that you were studying us, learning our weaknesses." "I wasn't trying to learn weaknesses," Jiwoo said. "I was trying to learn how to survive." "Is there a difference?" "Yes, learning weaknesses is about attack. Learning survival is about understanding. One is aggressive, the other is defensive. I only fight when I have to." Hana Choi, the medical officer, became a close friend. They met in the medical bay once a week, ostensibly for follow-up examinations of Jiwoo's shoulder wound. But really, they just talked. "You're different now," Hana observed during one visit. "You smile more. You talk more. You seem lighter." I was carrying too much silence, Jiwoo said. It was heavy. Now that I'm sharing what I know, it feels easier. Have you heard from Earth Command? Jiwoo's expression darkened slightly. They've sent messages. They want me to report on what I'm learning. They want me to keep Protocol 7 classified. But you're not keeping it classified. You're teaching it to everyone. I know. I'm disobeying their orders. But I think this is more important. My parents didn't die so Earth could have secret warriors. They died trying to protect people. And the best way to honor that is to make sure everyone can protect themselves. What will Earth Command do when they find out? I don't know. But that's a problem for later. Then everything changed again. 2 months after her fight with Krathnar, news reached the Academy. Raiders had attacked another human colony. This time it was New Brisbane, a settlement on the edge of Alliance space. The attack was similar to what had happened to New Sol 6 years earlier. Fast, brutal, overwhelming. The galactic military was preparing a response team. They needed personnel who understood Raider tactics and could work with mixed species. Units. Commandant Rashek called Jiwoo to his office. Earth. Command has requested experienced personnel. For the rescue mission, he said. They specifically asked for you. I'll go, Jiwoo said immediately. You understand this is not a training exercise. This is real combat. People will die, I understand. That's why I have to go. Those colonists are like my parents were. Civilians who need protection. If I can help them, I have to try. You won't go alone. I'm assembling a team from the Academy. Volunteers only. Mixed species. If your training methods work in the classroom, let's see if they work in actual combat. Within 6 hours, a team was assembled. Taesung volunteered immediately. So did Krathnar, Vexra, Dalshin, even Graltok. Instructor Velthar would lead the team, with Jiwoo serving as the combat specialist. Before they deployed, Jiwoo gathered her study group one final time. The room was more crowded than ever. Over 100 cadets had come, even though the meeting wasn't mandatory. They stood shoulder to shoulder, species who had been strangers 3 months ago, now united by what they had learned together. Jiwoo stood at the front, looking at all of them. When I came to this academy, she said, I thought strength meant not showing weakness. I thought survival meant staying quiet and invisible. I was wrong. She paused, looking at each section of the crowd. I learned something here, something my parents tried to teach me, but I didn't understand until now. Real strength isn't about how much you can lift or how hard you can hit. Real strength is about helping others become stronger. Some species are born warriors. They have natural advantages, size, speed, armor, weapons, but humans, she smiled slightly, humans become warriors. We do it by learning, by adapting, by understanding our enemies so completely that we can defeat them despite every disadvantage. But the most important thing humans do is this. We share what we learn. We teach each other. We lift each other up. That's what makes us dangerous. Not individual strength, but collective knowledge. She looked at Krathnar. You were the best fighter in this academy. You still are. But now you know how someone smaller and weaker can defeat you, and you know how to prevent it. That knowledge makes you stronger, not weaker. She looked at the Thoraxians. You have natural armor and incredible strength. But now you know where your weak points are and how to protect them. You're better warriors because of it. I'm going on a mission tomorrow. We're going to help colonists who are facing the same situation my colony faced. Raiders, killers, enemies who are bigger and stronger and better armed. But we're going to win. And we're going to win because of what we've learned together in this room. The crowd was completely silent, hanging on every word. When I come back, we're going to continue these sessions. We're going to keep learning, keep teaching, keep making each other stronger. Because that's what warriors do. Not just fight, but protect, help, teach. And maybe if we do this right, we can change how the galaxy thinks about combat. We can show them that knowledge is more powerful than strength. That understanding is more valuable than weapons. The academy exploded with chaos. Within minutes of the fight ending, footage of Jiwoo's victory spread through the academy's network. Every cadet who hadn't been at the arena watched the recording. They watched it once, then twice, then again in slow motion, trying to understand what they had just seen. 2.3 seconds. That was all it took for a small human girl to defeat the academy's top warrior. The betting pools collapsed completely. Hundreds of cadets had lost significant credits. Some were angry. Some were in shock. A few claimed the fight had been rigged somehow, though nobody could explain how or why Jiwoo walked through the hallways back to her dormitory, ignoring the stares and whispers. Her shoulder wound had been treated by the medical team. It wasn't serious. The uniform had absorbed most of the impact. She would be fine in a day or two, but she never made it to her dormitory. Security officers intercepted her in the hallway. They were polite but firm. "Cadet Park, you are requested to report to Commandant Rashek's office immediately." Jiwoo nodded and followed them. She had expected this. Taesung tried to approach her as the security officers led her away, but they blocked him. "Jiwoo, are you okay? What's going on?" She looked back at him and gave him a small nod. Then she was gone, escorted through corridors that normal cadets rarely saw, deep into the administrative section of the academy. The commandant's office was enormous, designed to accommodate beings of any size. The walls were covered with holographic displays showing star maps and academy records. At the center of the room sat a massive desk made of some kind of crystalline material that seemed to glow from within. Behind the desk sat Commandant Rashek. He was a Velkari, one of the oldest species in the galaxy. His body was vaguely humanoid but covered in what looked like living stone. His eyes were deep and ancient, having seen countless generations come and go. He had been a warrior before Jiwoo's grandparents were born. Instructor Velthar stood beside the desk, all four of his arms crossed. He did not look happy. "Cadet Park," Rashek said. His voice was deep and resonant, like the sound of mountains grinding together. "Please sit." There was a human-sized chair in front of the desk. Jiwoo sat down, her back straight, her hands in her lap. She said nothing. Rashek studied her for a long moment. Then he gestured to one of the holographic displays. It showed Jiwoo's academy file. Name, age, home planet, test scores, evaluation records. "I have been reviewing your admission paperwork," Rashek said. "It is very thorough. Medical examinations, psychological evaluations, academic transcripts, everything appears to be in order." He paused. "Except for one small detail. Your file has Earth military seals on it. Classification level 7. That is unusual for a simple cadet application. So I contacted Earth Command and requested clarification." Another holographic display appeared, showing a message marked with high-security codes. "They told me that certain details of your background are classified for reasons of interplanetary security. They would not elaborate. They simply said that you were cleared for admission, and that I should have no concerns about your presence at this academy." Rashek leaned forward. "But I do have concerns, Cadet Park, because what you did in that arena today was not the work of an ordinary cadet. That was the work of someone with extensive combat training that goes far beyond anything we teach here." Jiwoo remained silent. "So I will ask you directly," Rashek continued. "Who trained you? And why did you hide your abilities for 3 months?" Jiwoo considered her answer carefully. She had known this moment would come eventually. The truth was always going to surface. The only question was how much truth to reveal. "I grew up on New Sol Colony," she said. "My parents were engineers. That part of my file is accurate. And the combat training? That came later, after the colony was attacked." Velthar stepped forward. "New Sol. I remember that incident. 6 years ago. Raiders destroyed most of the colony before Alliance forces could respond. The official report said it was a tragedy. A failure of the early warning system." "That's correct," Jiwoo said, "but you survived," Rashek observed. "Yes." "How?" Jiwoo was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "When the raiders came, we had no military protection. No weapons. No training. We were scientists and civilians. We should have all died. But you didn't. Some of us fought back. My parents realized that being smart wasn't enough. We needed to understand our enemies. Not just their technology. Their biology. Their weaknesses." Rashek's ancient eyes narrowed. "Explain." "My parents were engineers. They knew how to analyze systems and find flaws. They applied that same thinking to the aliens who attacked us. They studied Vraxian anatomy, Thoraxian physiology, Krillian nerve structures, every species that served as raiders or pirates in our sector. They learned where the weak points were, the places where a small human could strike and cause maximum damage. And then they taught you," Velthar said. "Yes, they taught all the children who survived, because they knew the raiders might come back. And next time we needed to be ready." "How many children?" 47. By the end, only 12 of us were still alive to complete the training. The room was silent for a moment. Your parents, Rashek said quietly. When did they die? 4 years ago. The raiders came back, just like they said they would. This time we were ready. We fought, we won, but there were casualties. My parents were among them. I'm sorry, Rashek said, and he sounded like he meant it. Jiwoo nodded but said nothing. Velthar spoke up. This training program, does Earth Command know about it? Yes. After the second attack, Alliance investigators came to New Seoul. They documented what we had done, how we had survived. They classified it immediately. Why? Because humans aren't supposed to be able to fight like that. We're supposed to be the weak species, the ones who join the Alliance because we need protection. If other species knew that humans could study them, learn their weaknesses, and defeat them with precision strikes, it would change the political situation. Rashek sat back in his chair. So they classified your training and sent you here as an ordinary cadet. To gather more information, to learn about other species? No, Jiwoo said firmly. Earth Command wanted me to do that. But that's not why I came. Then why did you? Because after my parents died, after the colony was evacuated, I had nowhere else to go. And I realized that everything they taught me, everything they died for, could be used to help people, to protect them. But I needed to learn more. I needed to understand more species, more combat styles, more ways to keep people safe. So you came to the most prestigious military academy in the galaxy, Velthar said, and you hid your abilities for 3 months. Why? Because I wanted to observe first, to learn, to understand how things worked here before revealing what I could do. And because, Jiwoo paused, because I'm tired of fighting. I spent my childhood learning how to kill. I came here hoping to learn something different. Something better. Yet when challenged, you fought, Rashek observed. When challenged, I defended myself. There's a difference, is there? Velthar's mandibles clicked. You paralyzed one of our best cadets in seconds. You struck with lethal precision. If you had wanted to kill him, he would be dead. But I didn't want to kill him. I just wanted to win the evaluation so I could stay at the academy, so I could continue learning. Rashek studied her for a long moment. Then he made a decision. You may continue your studies here, Cadet Park, but under new conditions. You will no longer hide your abilities. You will participate fully in combat training, and you will help your fellow cadets understand that size and strength are not the only measures of a warrior. Yes, Commandant. However, Rashek continued, I want you to understand something. What you did today will have consequences. The other species at this academy, in the Alliance throughout the galaxy, they have certain assumptions about humans. You have just challenged those assumptions. Some will respect you for it. Others will fear you, and some will see you as a threat that needs to be eliminated. I understand. Do you? Because you are no longer just Jiwoo Park, quiet cadet from Earth. You are now Jiwoo Park, the human who defeated a Vraxian elite. That reputation will follow you everywhere. Are you prepared for that? Jiwoo thought about this. She thought about the years of silence after her parents died. The isolation, the loneliness. She had come to the academy hoping to find a new purpose, a new way to use her skills. Maybe this was it. Yes, Commandant. I'm prepared. Good. Then you are dismissed. Jiwoo stood up, bowed to both Rashek and Velthar, and turned to leave. Cadet Park, Rashek called out just as she reached the door. She turned back. What you and the other children of New Seoul did, surviving against impossible odds, fighting back against enemies that should have destroyed you. That is the spirit of a true warrior. Your parents would be proud. Jiwoo felt something tighten in her chest. She nodded once, unable to speak, and left the office. In the hallway outside, she found Taesung waiting for her. He jumped up from where he had been sitting. Are you okay? What did they say? Are you in trouble? Jiwoo looked at him and realized she was tired of hiding. Tired of being silent. Tired of keeping secrets. Walk with me, she said. I'll tell you everything. As they walked through the hallways, Jiwoo began to talk. Really talk.